Hello and welcome to this first click-by-click series of tutorials on Learning Excel 2010. In this series you'll learn a number of basic techniques to get you started in using Excel. If you want to practice the techniques shown in these videos, you can get the written instructions along with the exercise files and video tutorials from www.WizzyBooks.com. In this video we're going to talk about copying and moving data. But before we go and try it, let's just take a minute to explain the concepts of copy and move. Here I've got some information in a spreadsheet. I've got the word copy and I've got the word move. Now my intention is to place a copy of this information over here at the start of the spreadsheet. Now I can do that by highlighting the range that contains the data and coming up to the copy tool. And if I click on that, when I do, you'll see the walking ants surrounding the information that I've copied. I'll place my cursor in cell A1, which is where I want the information to be copied to, and I'll come up and click paste. And when I do, a copy of the information is inserted into column A. I'm just going to get rid of these walking ants by pressing the escape key. Now the important thing about this is that the original data, sometimes referred to as the source, is still in place. It's still there. Over here we've got the new data that we just pasted. This is sometimes referred to as the destination. So the source and the destination. But the original source information is still there. So that's how we copy information from one part of a spreadsheet to another. Move is slightly different. What I want to do this time is to take this information away and move it over into column A. So let's see how that's done. First of all, I'll highlight the data that I want to move. And this time, instead of coming up to the copy button, I'm going to move just above that is the cut button. And if I click on that one, again, you'll see the walking ants surrounding the information that I've selected. I'll place my cursor in column A, and again I'll come up and choose paste. And when I do, the original information or the source has been removed, but it reappears in the new area where I want it to be. So that's the difference between copying information and moving information. Okay, now we're happy with that concept. I'm going to close this file. I'll say no, don't save. And let's do some practice. So I'm going to come in and open up the exercise file that I need for this lesson. So if I come into File and Open, my information is stored on a removable drive. So if I click on that one, there's my exercise files. So if I open that folder up, the file that I'm interested in is called Copy and Move Practice. And there it is. So if I select it and say Open, the Copy and Move Practice spreadsheet will open up. So I've got a row of numbers here and they're slightly out of order, and my task is to put them in order. Now I can do this in a couple of different ways. I can use the method that we just looked at, the copy and paste method, using the clipboard tools up here, or I can use what I feel is a slightly quicker method. So I need to rearrange my numbers from 1 through to 5 in the list. So the first number I'm going to work with is number 1. So I'll select that cell. Now I'm going to move my cursor over to the edge of the selected cell, and you'll see the cursor change shape. It'll become a pointer with a 4-pronged arrow just underneath it. If I move too far into the cell, that disappears, and that's not what I want. So I need to be right on the edge of the cell. And while I'm there, I'm going to click and hold the mouse button down and simply drag that information in that cell over to cell A2. And when I release my button, I've moved my information from D2 to A2. So the first number is now in place. I've got a gap here and I know that number 4 goes in here, so I'm going to use the same technique again. I'll click on the number 4, hover my mouse just over the edge of the cell, click and hold, and I'll move that number 4 into column D. Okay, I'm guessing number 5 goes here, so I'll click on number 5, and again I'll move my cursor over to the edge of the cell, click and hold, and I'll pop that in position there. So this leaves an empty space now for number 3. So again, I'll click on that one, hover my cursor over the edge of the cell, pick it up and drag it across to column C. That just leaves one more space for number 2, so I'll select that one and again move my cursor to the edge of the cell, click and hold and drag that one into position. So now all of my numbers are in order. Okay, so how about if we want to move all of these numbers at once? To do that, all I need to do is to select the range. And again, even though it's a range, if I hover my mouse over the edge, I still get that move cursor appear. So I'm going to pick that one up and drag it down 2 cells and across 2 cells. And if I let go, I've now moved the range of numbers. Now the range is still selected, so what I want to do now is to copy this information and paste it in row 6. So I'll come up to the copy tool in the ribbon and click copy. The walking ants will appear. Then I'll place my cursor in row 6 and back up into the clipboard tools where I'll choose paste. And now I've got a duplicate of the first row underneath it. I'll press escape to get rid of the walking ants, and that's how we move individual cells and ranges within a worksheet. But what if we want to copy all of this information into a new workbook? Well, the first thing we'll have to do is to create a new workbook, and I can quickly do that by using the keyboard. If I hold down the Control key and press the N button, that will give me a new workbook. So I've now got 2 Excel workbooks open, and I can check that by coming down into the status bar. There's my first workbook, Copy and Move Practice, and there's the second workbook, Book 1. So the idea is to copy the information from this spreadsheet into this new spreadsheet. Now I can see both spreadsheets from the taskbar, and this is a feature available with Windows 7, and this allows me to switch between worksheets quite quickly. So I'll go back to my original worksheet, and now I'm going to highlight all of the data that I want. Then I'll go to copy, and the walking ants will appear. And I could come down now and use this feature of Windows 7 and change to the new worksheet. But let's suppose you haven't got Windows 7. There is a way of switching between worksheets from within Excel. All we have to do is go to the View tab, and in that ribbon we've got a tool that allows us to switch windows. And if I click on that, you'll see that I've got 2 worksheets open. Book 1, my new workbook, and my original Copy and Move Practice file. The tick is next to the Copy and Move Practice file at the moment, so that signifies that that's the one we're looking at. So I've copied my information, and I'll use this feature to switch to the new workbook. Simply click, and that brings up the Book 1 workbook. From here, all I need to do is to go back to the Home ribbon and select Paste. And the information that I've collected from the original worksheet is now pasted into this new worksheet. So that's how we copy and move information within a worksheet, and also copying information from one worksheet to another.